Today we're going on with the multiplication and division of surds, including expanding brackets involving surds. So jumping straight into the examples, example number 1, I want to multiply 3 root 2 times minus 4 root 5. To do that, all you need to do is multiply the numbers at the front of the surds. So 3 times the minus 4 is minus 12. Then you're going to have a square root sign, and you multiply the numbers underneath the surds together. So 2 times 5 makes 10. Always check to see if you can simplify your surds, but 10 is not going to divide by a perfect square, so that is it. Repeating that process for part B, we multiply the numbers at the front of the surds. So 2 times 5 is 10. And we multiply the numbers underneath the surds. 2 times 18 is square root of 36. Now this time we can simplify that surd. The square root of 36 is exactly 6, so it's 10 times 6, making the final answer 60. Part C is dividing surds. So when you have that fraction line, remember that means divide. Any numbers that are out the front you can simplify as normal. So the 2 and the 4, we can divide by 2 to get a 1, divide by 2 and get a 2 there. Now for the surds part, when you have a surd on the top and a surd on the bottom, that can be changed to be written as one big surd and 14 over 2, the numbers make a fraction underneath that one big surd. Now, you might choose to do this in one step in the future. What you do then is you can then divide those numbers. 14 divided by 2 is 7. So I have half times root 7. But a better way to write that would be to put the root 7 on the top of that fraction. So root 7 over 2. So let's do part D, which is the same kind of question. We'll do it in a few less steps this time. First of all, simplifying the numbers at the front, 3 and 15. We can divide by 3 to get a 1 and a 5. Then, to simplify the surds, instead of rewriting them as one big surd, let's just divide the numbers underneath. 10 divided by 2 is 5. So it'll be 1 root 5, or just root 5 on the top. And we still have the 5 sitting on the bottom. Part E, when we square things, we need to square everything inside those brackets. So 4 squared is 16, and square root of 3 squared, a squared undoes the square root sign, so that will just be 3. Then all I have to do is times together, 16 times 3, to get 48 for the answer. Part F is doing the same thing. It might actually be even easier because I have one big square root sign and a squared outside. So they're going to undo each other. They're going to cancel each other out. So all that's going to be left is the 11 on the top and the 7 on the bottom. Question 2 is the expanding time. So the first one is just a binomial distribution. So let's expand that out. Root 3 times root 5. 3 times 5 is 15, so square root of 15. Then we have a minus sign. Root 3 times root 3. That could be square root of 9, but remember those square roots will cancel each other out and would just be more simple to write minus 3 for that. Check for simplifying. No, there's nothing that's going to go into that 15 there, so we're done with that question. On to the next one. Distributive law. So 2 root 5 times 2 root 3. The big number's at the front. 2 times 2 is 4. 5 times 3 is 15, so 4 root 15. Then the minus sign. Now for the second one. 2 times 5 is 10. Root 5 times root 2. Timesing those numbers together gives me square root of 10. Looking for simplifying, but again, no, nothing can be simplified there. For C, this is the binomial. We have 2 brackets next to each other. We have to do a full FOIL expansion here. So first times first. So there's only the 2 at the front of the surds here, so the 2 will stay at the front. Root 3 times root 5. 3 times 5 is 15. Then we do the outside ones. There's a 2 times a minus 2, so that's minus 4. Then we have root 3 times root 2, which will be root 6. Then we want to do the inside ones. Root 5 times root 5 will be a plus 5. The square roots cancel out. And finally, last, 1 on this side times by minus 2 would make minus 2. And 5 times 2 makes 10 for underneath the surd. And again, none of those surds are going to simplify. So that is the answer for that one. And finally, part D, looking at those 2 brackets, they are identical except for that one is a plus and one is a minus. So we know that in the FOIL expansion that the 2 middle terms are going to cancel out. So to save some time, all we really need to do is the first one times the first one. Root 7 times root 7 is 7. And the last one times the last one, which means minus 2 times a plus 2 is minus 4. Root 11 times root 11 is a normal 11. So it's 7 minus 44, which is minus 37. Okay, and that's it.